Alright, welcome to a video on factoring quadratics when the a equals 1. So, what is a quadratic? Well, a quadratic in general looks like this. It looks like ax squared plus bx plus c. Now this is different than our linear equations because we have that x squared value. That x squared is what makes this quadratic. Also, when we graph these, we're going to have a parabola. It's going to look kind of like a U, not that straight line that we're used to with our slope-intercept and all that. So, the a, the b, and the c are all numbers. So here I have an example of a quadratic. It's 2x squared minus 4x plus 6 equals 0. And we're going to identify the a, b, and the c. The a is always in front of your x squared value. If there's nothing there, it's a 1, but we see that there is a 2. So our a is 2. Our b is -4, and our c is 6. Now, let's actually work on factoring some of these quadratics. Now, we know some of our, math words that we use. Mono, 1, when we have bi, we have 2 of something, tri, we have 3 of something, and quad means we've got 4 of something. Well, whenever we factor these, I want us to always have four terms there. So I want us to always have 4 terms whenever we're factoring. Unless it's special like the right side. As you see, the right side only has 2 terms. So that one's special. But generally, whenever we factor our quadratics, we're going to make it so that we have 4 terms. So if we only have 3 terms, we're going to change that into 4. That way we can actually factor it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those 4 terms and I'm going to cut it in half. See, if we have 3 terms, we can't cut that in half. I can't have half a term. So I'm going to split it into 2 sides of terms. I'm going to put a parentheses thing here. So what we're going to do is we are going to look at just this side. And we're going to factor out numbers and we're going to factor out letters. When I say factor, I want you to think about division. So we look, there's a 1 in front of this x squared. So what can we divide 1 and 7 by? What is the biggest number? Well, the biggest number is a 1. So I'm just going to write a 1 there. And then I have an x squared and an x. So the most x's I can factor out or divide out would be 1x. So I can take that away from both of them. So now I'm going to actually divide this top part here with our outside. So 1 divided by 1, that's a 1. X squared divided by x, we take away the x, so we're left with 1x. 7 divided by 1 is 7. And then we had an x there, we took it away. Now we have no x left, so we have our 1x plus 7. And that 1x plus 7 is important, because I want you to write that over here. On each side of our wall there, we want to have the same expression in parentheses. So I'm going to rewrite that there. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I'm now going to take these and divide them by that inside parentheses. So I'm going to do the first with the first, the second with the second, and they should give us the same number on the outside. So -4 divided by 1 is -4. Okay, now to check to make sure that's right, we're going to take this -28 divided by 7, and we find that -28 divided by 7 is -4. So we know that is the correct number there. So what we're going to do now is just rewrite. So we're going to rewrite the first part, which is the parentheses that they both share, so that x plus 7. And then we're going to write what's on the outside. So on the outside I have a x, and on the outside over here I have a -4. So there we go, we factored that. The right side here, we have x squared plus 5x. Now we can't really split this in half, but if we look, this looks just like the left half of our wall here. Looks just like that. So we're going to do the same thing we would do if there was a wall. We're just going to see what we can factor out. So I'm going to write the 1 in, parentheses. So 1 and 5, I can factor out a 1. X squared and x, factor out an x. 1 divided by 1, 1. Had 2 x's, take away 1 x. 5 divided by 1 is 5, and we took away its x. So there we go. We don't have to do anything else. There's nothing else there to do. So here are the rules for when we factor our trinomials here, our 3-term quadratic. So we want to make sure it's ax squared plus bx plus c in order. We're going to identify the a, b, and the c. We're going to take the absolute value of a and c. We're going to find all the factors of that step 3 of that a times c, and we're going to call those factors p and q. We're going to get the correct factors that will give us p plus q equals b and p times q equals c. And then we're going to put a new quadratic that looks like ax squared plus px plus qx plus c, and then we're going to factor this like we just did on the first page. So I know these rules are kind of complicated now and they seem complicated, but it's going to make a lot more sense when we start actually doing that. So here we have x squared plus 2x minus 63. Step 1, identify your a, your b, and your c. So my a is, I said a in row C. My a is 1. My b is 2. And my c is negative 63. So now I'm going to take the absolute value of a times c, and I do the absolute value because I want it to be the positive. I always want to work with the positive number. 1 times negative 63 is negative 63. That absolute value gives us positive 63. Now we're going to look at the factors. I said factors, not factor tree, so we're going to start at 1 and look at all of these factors. 2, now that won't work. 3 will work, so we get 3 and 21. 4 won't work. 5 won't work. 6 won't work. 7 will work though. It's 7 and 9. 8 won't work. And then we're back to 9, so we don't even have to worry about it. So we need these to add up to be our b value, and we need them to multiply to be our c value. So here's a little cheating kind of trick here. Let's look at our b. Our b is positive. So if our b is positive, that means whatever number we have on the right side here is also have to be positive. So now we look, is there any way we can get a 2 from this 1 and 63? No. What about 3 and 21? No. So hopefully it's 7 and 9. Well, it is. If we try 7 plus 9, that won't work. But if we do negative 7 plus 9, that'll give us 2. And just to check, is negative 7 multiplied by 9 negative 63? If you check that in the calculator, you'll see that it is. So we get our C. So we know that these are the numbers we're going to work with. So we're going to take these and they're going to be put in place of this. So this is going to turn into a negative 7x plus a 9x. And then we're just going to drop in the a part and the c part around it. So we're just going to drop those in. Now it looks like that first example we did. We have our 4 terms. We're going to split our 4 terms in half. And parentheses. And I'm just going to factor this. I can factor out a 1. And I can factor out an x. So I get 1x minus 7. 1 divided by 1 is 1. Negative 7 divided by 1, negative 7. Then I take away an x from each. Now I want that 1x minus 7 over here. 9 divided by 1 is 9. And negative 63 divided by negative 7 is also a positive 9. So hey, that's good. Now I'm going to take my inside in parentheses and put it in parentheses with my outside. And there we go. We factored it. It's our final answer. Okay, so now there's two examples that I want you to try on your own. So go ahead, pause the video, and try to do this now. I just realized I made a mistake. That should say 11M. That should say 11M. Sorry. Okay, so after that minor fix with the M's, we got it. So go ahead, check your work with mine. And then we're going to do this last example here. So again, pause the video now, work through this. I'll work through it mine, and all the letters are good, so go ahead and do that now. So go ahead, check your work now with mine. After you've checked your work with mine, you see everything looks good for both of us. You can work on some practice problems.